So today we are going to be learning about effects, and we are going to apply effects on our microphone. So now, same as the analog lesson, we say that effects involves two things. We have to send and we have to return. So that's the concept. So the reason why we have this concept is because long way before the digital mixer came in, we had to take the signal from a channel and then send it to an effects board. And then from effects board, we put the signal in an input and then process it, put in the effects, the reverbs, or whatever the delays. And then from the output, you take the output and take the signal back to the mixer. So that's why even today we have to send to the processing, to the signal board, to the effects board, and then you return back to the mixer. So that's how you include the effects in a signal flow. It's not part of the process of a signal flow. So you just take the signal and take to the effects board and take back to the mixer. So unlike how most people will do, they'll take the signal from the mixer and then to the effects board and then to the amplifier and so on and so forth. So that's not the right way. The right way is you take the signal to the effects board and then back to the mixer as the signal flow goes down. So that's where the send and return came from. So the first thing we need to understand is the send. So this is the send section. So it's written effects 1 send, effects 2 send, effects 3, and effects 4. So this tells you that our mixer has 4 effects, or can only accommodate 4 effects. And then on this other side, we have the effects return. So FX1 return, FX2 return, 3, and 4. So that's the concept in all mixers. Some might have even more, some might have less. But that's the concept in all mixers. So now what happens? So we go to the first layer. So the first layer, since all the effects are in the first layer, and then make sure that you've sent all the channels. So you send by raising the faders. So we've raised the faders for effects 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is how you send your effects. Now, when you're returning, remember you will return in an output because you're not returning for you to EQ further. You're returning in an output. So we'll have to go to an output. Like now, for example, on this side, you can see we are in an output, which is LR. So when we are returning to LR output. So when you want to return to another output, remember to press the output and then return. Like now, for example, since we've pressed LR, we come back to return. So, and then we increase the return. So if you want to use all the 4 effects in that output, so that's how you increase the return. So we've sent the channel from the mixer, and then it has gone to the effects processor, and then it has come back to an output of the same mixer, and then now the effects can go out. Now, in between we said there is that effects board. So the effects board of this mixer is inside the mixer. So we have to access it inside the mixer. So how do you access the effects board inside the mixer? So we go back to the screen. So remember, this is the section whereby you direct the screen where you want to go. So now you press the effects. So when I press the effects, FX, now I've come to the effects board or the effects processor. So like now, for example, if I press FX1, so from my previous settings, this is a plate vocal. So this is a small reverb. But now we can still change. So we change by pressing the function button. So when you press the function button, it tells us that we can choose from the reverbs, delays, modulators, gated verb, and so on and so forth. So for example, so we pressed the reverb, and then we looked for the plate vocal. So the plate vocal is here, and then you recall. So we have the plate vocal. So for effects 2, we have the whole. So the settings are the same, how to set, and then effects 3, we have the delay, and so on and so forth. So now, the effects 1, we have the first section here, which is the pre-delay. So pre-delay means the gap between the vocal or the unprocessed signal and the effects. So this is the gap. So 63 milliseconds is an example. And then we have the decay time. So this is the tail of the effects. So how long is it sustained after the vocal? So we also have the high frequency decay. So this is where the high frequencies start to decay, and we also have the slope. In the effects board, we also have the low cut, the low frequency cut, and also the high frequency cut. So remember, the low frequency cuts the lows, the high frequency cuts the highs. So these are settings that you set to set. These are the settings used to set the effects. And this is what we are calling the effects board or the effects processing board. So now after you've set that, now the next thing that is remaining is to send the channel to that specific channel, to that specific effects board. So now we come back to the channels. So we have our channels, and the channel is on, but we have to go to the effects 1, for example, or maybe let's go to effects 2. So when I press effects 2, I have to increase the level of effects 2 so that we can be able to hear the effects. So check 1, 2, 1, 2, check, check, 1, 2. You can hear the effects. Check, 1, 2. So that's how you send the channel to that specific effect. So let's go to effects 3. So effects 3, then you increase the level. Check, check. So remember, this is delay. So that's how you send the signal. So I want to explain the signal flow again. So we have the signal coming into the channel. So after the channel, we have to send the signal to the effects board. So you have to increase the fader of send, the send fader. And then after you've increased, you go to the effects, and then you process, you look for the signal that you want, and then you return in an output, and that's where you're going to hear your effects. So that's how you do that. Now, remember, this also requires a lot of practice, because you have to listen to songs and then be able to identify the kind of effects that has been used and how to balance effects, especially in vocals. And also, you need to be able to know how many effects have been used in one vocal or in one input. Because you can use several effects in one vocal. So for example, we can use effects 1. So check 1, 2. So that's effects 1. Effects 1 has a short tail, 1, 2. And then you can also include effects 2. Check 1, 2. So those are 2 effects. You can also include delay. Check 1, 2. 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. So that's what I mean by you can apply several effects in one channel. So I want you to go and listen to different songs and listen to the effects that have been applied and how many effects are those, and can you be able to identify what kind of reverb, modulator, delay, and so on and so forth has been used. And go and practice the same with the same songs if you can be able to achieve the same mix as the original song. Thank you so much, and I wish you a good time.